I was terrified of dogs growing up, and friends of ours had boxers, and I started to get used to them from visiting, and started to develop a relationship with one of them, Harley. And then Harley passed away, and I noticed that I missed him, and realized I had developed, he had a personality, I had developed a relationship. So then the couple who had Harley, his parents, were looking at getting a puppy. And they sent me a picture of a puppy and said, "Meet Decker." And I looked at a picture of this puppy and I just fell in love with this puppy through this picture.
Losing a loved one is an intensely personal experience. And for so many people, a dog has become such an important member of the family that losing a dog is very much the same as losing a family member. Today on NSK9, we're dealing with the very difficult discussion of grief and what that means to so many people. We're going to talk about a project here in Nova Scotia that seeks to memorialize and remember our canine companions.
And a few days later, my friend sent me another picture and said, "Oh, I sent you the wrong picture. This is Decker." So I messaged back and I said, "Who's that other puppy?" And they said, "Oh, that's one of the litter." And so I told Troy I wanted to get this puppy. He didn't believe me because he had been for 8 years wanting to get a dog, and I was like, never going to happen. And that was Ben.
It would be an understatement to say that Ellen's husband Troy was surprised by her desire for a boxer puppy of her own. But Ben came into their lives, and soon a second boxer would follow.
We had been talking about getting a partner for Ben, and we hadn't really started looking seriously, but Ben was going to a daycare a couple of days a week, and one day I got a call at work from Troy saying that the daycare where we were taking Ben had a foster dog, a white boxer. And so I went and I met Kaya, and I had said to Troy, if they get along, we'll take her, but we're keeping her because Kaya had been through, the first 6 to 8 months of her life had been rough. So we took her, and we still have her. Kaya is deaf, which we knew going in. She was underweight. We think she had been trained, but she had lost everything. She was not healthy. We took her to be examined by the vet. We found that she had hip dysplasia, spondylosis.
Ellen and Troy knew about Kaya's health challenges, but what would come as a surprise was news about Ben.
We actually first learned about Ben's heart condition, and that was almost 2 years ago. The vet detected something that we soon found out was called cardiomyopathy. And that was heartbreaking because the prognosis wasn't good. She said that typically within 6 months of diagnosis, dogs typically started to fail and pass. We started to notice he was dragging his back feet and his nails were bleeding. And then we discovered that he had developed a condition called degenerative myelopathy, which is it's compared to multiple sclerosis in people. So he was losing the feeling, the sheath around the nerves was dying, and as that died, he would lose feeling and ability to control his muscles.
Ellen and Troy approached caring for their boxers as they would any family member. They adjusted their lives and made the best of the limited time they knew they had with Ben and Kaya.
We bought pill trays for each of them, And at the peak, Ben was getting about 20 pills a day. And Kaya about half of that, and she's increased since. We were seeing the vet at least once a month for both of them, doing acupuncture, massage, chiropractic. We were willing to try anything we could to help Ben be comfortable and to continue with Kaya, what Kaya was already getting, and make sure they were both comfortable and had quality of life for as long as they could.
So why did you make that kind of commitment?
They're family. They're family. And I know not everybody can, not everybody has the same perspective we do, and that's okay. But based on our values and our perspective, we wanted to do everything that we could for them. Troy and I stopped being able to take vacations together, even to go to dinner together was a real treat. And in fact,
that's because of the dogs.
Because of the dogs,
yeah.
And somebody having to be home with them. We did have a support network who could and were willing to help us out and take care of the dogs if we needed to go someplace or wanted to go someplace. We reached a point though where, Ben was a 75-pound dog and he had to be carried everywhere. Carried him to the backyard to use the washroom, carry him upstairs to bed. And we didn't want to ask that of anybody. And we did that because he was family, and now we're doing that for Kaya. She's a 50-pound dog and we're carrying her. I don't know, a lot of people asked us, particularly with Ben in the last few months, why we were keeping him alive. And we knew, right until the day he died, he wanted to live. He played, he'd drag himself around the backyard playing ball. We'd take him to the beach, he'd drag himself through the sand, play with rocks, he loved rocks. And as long as he wanted to live, we were gonna let him live. And we didn't feel it was our choice to decide when he died.
What was it like for you when Ben died?
Heartbreaking. I was in Cape Breton when he died, and my brother, I was actually in the water with some kids, and my brother came out and said, Troy called and he wants you to call him right away, and I knew right then.
It goes on the size of the dog, the weight of the dog. So large breed dogs actually age faster than small breed dogs, just because of their metabolism. And you have to factor in, as I say, both weight and type of dog. So large breed dogs typically have a shorter lifespan than like a Chihuahua. So the 7-year rule doesn't work.
Place to Pause is a chapel-like building, and it's dedicated to commemorate dogs who have passed away and to provide a spot for people to come and remember their dogs and just be in a beautiful place to maybe engage in some kind of a commemorative ritual or observance, and just be in space to reflect and remember and to cherish the memory of their dog.
That's a beautiful stained glass.
Yes, that stained glass was created by an artist in Lunenburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for this. And that's actually the path you would have walked down to come here.
All right.
Yeah. Right. So, welcome to Place to Pause. Come on in, girls.
And it is very much like a traditional chapel.
It is. It has that feel to it, and the openness and the vaulted ceiling, and it has a beautiful energy to it.
Ardra Cole studies the relationship between dogs and older adults at Halifax's Mount St. Vincent University. She's also the founder of an organization called Elder Dog. Through her work, she realized a need for a place to grieve dogs who have passed away. And with Elder Dog, she built a place to pause on her property on the south shore of Nova Scotia.
A lot of the grief and grieving that happens for people who lose pets is done in silence, because the loss is as profound as it is for, the loss of a human, yet it's easy for people to be dismissed in their loss. When someone says, oh, it's just a dog, or it's just a cat, or, get another one, or something, when you're grieving so deeply, that's the last thing you want to risk, hearing. So this is a wall of memory, and because we're connected with Elder Dog, these are dogs who have been rehomed through Elder Dog and have since passed away. Sadly, but the reality is that, this wall of photographs grows almost by the week. So these are beautiful dogs.
A place to pause is open to the public to reflect and remember. People arrive from all over to leave everything from their dog's ashes to collars and other remembrances.
One of the things that we encourage people to do is find ways of commemorating their own dogs. So, for example, someone visited and then came back and brought this concrete sculpture to remember her dog. So it's a commemoration. Somebody brought an artifact and left it here, and knows that this will always be here and will always be a place where she can come and remember her dog. So I think something like this is it's a safe haven for people to heal and to be open, about the grief that they feel and experience with the loss of a beloved animal. Somebody brought a little bell that used to hang around her dog's neck, and so. And somebody else, made these two little carvings of dogs who had passed away. And of course, photographs, meaningful photographs are here, to commemorate. And these empty spaces are empty as an invitation for people to, to come and bring things.
There are many ways to remember your dog at a place to pause. But one of the most meaningful for many are letters, something which originated from a mysterious letter Ardra found attached to a balloon which landed on her property.
So I realized that there was something more to it than just, a bit of litter. And so I took these pieces of paper, took all of that back home, and I very carefully unfolded the paper. And what I recognized immediately was that these were letters, because you could tell by the shape, right? Yeah. But I couldn't read them because they were all in mirror writing. So they're all backwards, right? So in order to see what there's written on here, you actually have to read them through a mirror.
Oh, wow.
So I took it into, the bathroom and put it up against and read them. And they were love letters to two dead dogs. And what this person had done was write these letters, fold them, attach them to two balloons, and set them adrift. And who knows how it happened that they landed on my property. So there's something very special about these letters, and there's also something that's really important about grieving and being able to write through that. So I had kept these letters and knew that this was going to be a place for them. And there's an invitation here for people who come to this space to, honor their relationship by writing a message, a letter, a poem, something to a beloved dog who has passed away.
Do you think Kaya had a sense that Ben was coming to the end too?
We do, yeah. She's changed tremendously since Ben died, and we didn't know it at the time, but she stopped eating about 3 days before he died, and then she didn't eat until another 5 days after he died. And at that point, she would only eat if we hand-fed her. And we're just now, it's 7 weeks since Ben died, 7 weeks tomorrow. And just now we're weaning her off of the hand feeding.
So we often don't think of grief when it comes to the pets and other dogs, but there's a real grief there.
Oh, and it's been heartbreaking to watch. She lost somewhere between 8 and 12 pounds. Just no joy. She had no joy whatsoever. She was despondent. And it's in the last couple of weeks, we had visitors who had a couple of little dogs, and they really helped to bring her out of her shell and start to bounce back.
And so it was that companionship in a way.
Companionship, and she took on a mothering role. They're small,
purpose.
younger. Exactly, she had a purpose. Yeah.
I would have to say yes, watching my own dogs, because you'll see at times, sometimes they're sound asleep and they'll make little yipping noises and they start running. And I always tell my wife not to bother them because they might be just about to catch the rabbit.
Kai got so sick after Ben died. We almost had to forget about Ben for a minute and focus on keeping Kaya alive. I remember going to the vet. It was probably a week after, it was about a week after Ben had died, because Kaya was still not really eating. And I said to Dr. Lee, I said, I feel like we're losing her, and that's not an option. We can't lose her. So the last 7 weeks have really been about keeping Kaya alive and helping her bounce back. And thankfully she is. Her health has taken a real hit as a result, but she's bouncing back.
So one of the really interesting things about this space is that when dogs come into this space, this is what they do. They just relax. They must pick up the calm energy, and they just drop to the ground. And they're just completely relaxed and while they're here.
It's been said that grief is the price of love. We all experience it in our own way, and we've come to realize that animals experience grief as well. But for some, it can also be about change. And A Place for Paws releases butterflies every year as a way to remember dogs who have passed on and recognize the changes that brings.
Well, butterflies, it's kind of a metaphor, for the kind of the free-spiritedness, and of course butterflies also signify metamorphosis and transformation. And because as we think about, dogs leaving the earth and moving on to, the next, their next place, we think of transformation and metamorphosis. And so there's something also about, the release of like the physical release of a butterfly. And people do say, and I've experienced it myself, where you kind of have this feeling of releasing the spirit of your dog, and it helps to it's part of that ritual again, and helps to bring a bit of peace and closure to that really sad moment.
He taught me so much. Ben was goofy and loved to play and lived in the moment. And he taught me the value of all of that and helped me realize that I needed more of that in my life. I was diagnosed 20-some years ago with chronic depression and generalized anxiety. And I remember a therapist I was working with really she wanted me to run, she wanted me to get a dog, she wanted me to do all these things, go south every winter. And the one thing I remember is telling her, I will never, ever get a dog. And every visit she'd say, oh, yeah, I think you should get a dog. And whatever magic he worked, and Kaya as well, they've changed me. They softened me. I remember it was the day that I took them to see if they would play together and be compatible. I took them to Conrad's Beach. And I actually have a picture of them running on the beach. And it's such a joyful picture. And that is a picture that just sticks in my head. Spending time in Cape Breton and at my dad's place, huge field, and they just run and run and run. I can remember the first time that I realized how intuitive Ben was. I was having some trouble with my back, and so I was lying on the floor with my feet up. And Ben came over, and he laid down beside me, and he put his head across my neck and just snuggled me. It's okay. Yeah. Seeing him with kids is another great memory. He was so good with kids. He'd just sit and make himself as small as he could so that the kids wouldn't be afraid, and they could just tug on him and kiss him and hug him. And he just was so gentle. We used to call him Gentle Ben.
Visit us online to tell us your dog stories for possible inclusion in future episodes. And don't forget to share photos of your canine friends on social media with the hashtag NSK9.
Ben and Kaya, yes, they're dogs, but they're not pets. They're very unique personalities and very unique individuals, and so losing them is like losing a friend or a family member. And getting another puppy, if we do, won't be about replacing Ben or Kaya. It'll be about starting over and building new relationships with more unique personalities.
How and what to feed your dog is something many dog owners worry about. Next time on NSK9, we're meeting some Nova Scotians who are trying to improve the health of our dogs through better nutrition.
And so it's not about feeding, like spending $20, $30 every single day on the best bowl you can make. It's about incorporating, bringing things in and out of your bowl or your diet, whether it's once a day, whether it's once a week, whether it's once a month, whatever that you can do, just that little bit can have an effect on sort of your overall health and immunity. So that is kind of the one big thing that I would want people to know is that, hey man, if you've got 25 cents in your pocket and that's all that you have, how can you effectively use that 25% to help increase the longevity of your pet? So go out, go to a farmer, somebody's gonna throw away their head of kale at the Seaport Farmers Market, take it, chop it up at home, put it in a freezer, give them that 25 cents and use that as a tool to help increase the lifespan of your pet.